The relationship between apparel brands and the ingredient brands behind their materials is one of the most consequential and least discussed dynamics in performance apparel. I had the awesome opportunity at Performance Days 2026 in Munich to have representatives from three of the industry's leading ingredient brands, Polartec, Elastic Interface, and Polygiene, joined by design heads from Albion and Santini to examine how these partnerships are built, where they create the most value, and what the industry is still leaving on the table. This is the Business of Cycling podcast. So today, in the discussion today, we're going to talk about something that we're kind of discovering it doesn't get really talked about enough, and that is the relationship between trailblazing clothing brands and the ingredient brands whose materials help drive performance. We have Polartec, Elastic Interface, and Polygiene around the table alongside Albion and Santini, who together can provide some insight into how these partnerships work. So I'm going to do some quick introductions with our panel today. Eric Young is the managing director of Polartec. Eric brings over 20 years of experience in the outdoor industry with a background spanning marketing and entertainment. A firm believer that success comes when marketing, product, and sales work in true alignment. He has spent his career building partnerships that help brands win together. Gianluca Pellicciari is the CEO of Elastic Interface. Gianluca holds a degree in electrical engineering and an MBA from Bocconi University. He built his career early in management consulting at Kearney, advising multinational organizations across consumer goods, pharma, and industrial sectors.
Yes.
Eva Doll. Eva is a brand strategy manager, EMEA at Polygiene, where she helps partner brands translate technology into compelling brand and product messaging. She joined Polygiene in 2021 after more than a decade at Eastbo, where she held roles including director of Eastbo Bike and community manager for outdoor, snow sports, and tech trends. Graham Raeburn is the lead designer at Albion. Hello, Graham. London-based, it's hard to miss Graham with his blonde hair and 6'5". London-based adventure cycling apparel brand known for its commitment to responsible practices. His work spans prototyping, performance tuning products with athletes, and running community repair workshops. For Albion, he spent over 10 years as elite athlete innovation designer at Rafa. He also serves as associate lecturer in MA fashion at the Royal College of Art, bringing a rare combination of design practice and academic perspective to the industry. And our final guest is Fergus Niland. Fergus is the creative director at Santini in Bergamo. Originally from the west coast of Ireland, a lifelong passion for racing bikes drew him into the sportswear industry in 2008. And he has been with Santini since 2012. Over his career, he has developed collections in collaboration with professional teams, world champion athletes, and sports governing organizations, work that culminated in designing the iconic yellow jersey for the 2022 Tour de France. Folks, you guys can come in. Would love to have you. Okay. All right, to get started, so this is going to be a really deep kind of dive into how ingredient brands and clothing brands collaborate and work together. And I think we have a really, really spectacular panel of folks here to dive into that topic. So to get started, I guess, and we'll let the floor leave the floor open on this first question. In your experience, would you describe the ideal relationship between an apparel brand and an ingredient brand? Is it more like a marriage, a creative collaboration, or something else entirely?
Why, guys?
Don't be shy. Who's going to start? Break the ice. Fergus?
start with a joke. It's like a marriage, but you can see other people, I guess.
Okay.
But, yeah.
A little closer.
Yeah. No, I think that, kind of obviously working in collaboration with any supplier of any material is incredibly important to establish, a good level of trust. It's focused on products primarily. That's what my experience, that's what it's based on. And whoever that is, I suppose that when you have that relationship that is, kind of focused on developing the things in the most efficient way possible to create the most, perfect version of that product, is fundamental for that relationship. And, I'm lucky to say I work with various different suppliers, Polartec being one of them, where we kind of have that relationship.
So I think let's dive into, so Albion and Santini are both known for exceptionally considered product design, and Polartec and Elastic Interface are deeply embedded in how performance apparel is built. So I guess, when does this material relationship stop being a supplier and start feeling like a co-creation here?
Hi. So I dive in. Okay, yeah.
Hi, yeah. So from a design perspective, picking up on Fergus, what you were saying, yeah, it's definitely a collaborative loop. Like it's a circular process, like not a linear one for us working with our brand partners. And so exactly to that end, it's not we're not taking a product that already exists and putting some hand tags on it. We're working really directly with the mills, with the ingredient partners to generate new ideas to use for R&D space, and in some cases actually work on promotional materials together, produce films, produce actual workshop events or something like that to engage community as well. So we try and go a lot deeper than simply putting two like logos next to each other.
And so I guess from Eric, I guess I want to go into Eric, Gianluca, or Eva, whoever wants to answer this one. I guess, how do you identify the apparel brands that are ready to go beyond the Hangtag and make a real joint development? And, what does that conversation look like early on?
Thank you. I think it's a matter of identifying. I think it's kind of natural, in fact. You find brands that maybe have more ambition or hunger, or are just more product-centric than profit-centric. And that want to push the barriers of the existing solutions for apparel, and if they have this intention to do something better or different in terms of products, really, or to differentiate from the rest of the crowd, if they have problems, that's when the partnership can be built. So that's really what we enjoy. That's where we are trying to support our customers, is when they come to us with problems, and we try to offer textile solutions.
Right, and I suppose that these brands, they have the closer relationship with the customer rather than you guys. So it's natural for you guys to work with these brands and understand what the customer wants.
I believe so. I mean, we have, at Polartec, we're a bunch of textile and outdoor and cycling enthusiasts. So we like to test things, but for real, at scale, what the feedback that our customers are giving us is what really matters in the end.
Absolutely, I fully agree. But I would like to add one more thing. It's not only that you identify who wants to work with you, because, that's, as you said, that comes very natural. It's also that you embark the whole company or all the different segments onto that journey. Means you develop a product with a product development team, but you have to make sure that also marketing and sales is included, that you have the direct connection to the marketing team and the sales team, that you train them and that they really see the added value that you bring. Because of course you just feel comfortable with things when you really when you feel comfortable to speak about it. So this is what I wanted to say.
But only I guess for certain brands, you'll activate that relationship where it goes deeper. but then with other brands, maybe less.
Of course, yeah. I mean, you can't do that with all brands, but if you really want to do it properly, from my perspective, from my personal perspective, I would say you have to embark the whole different segments, all the company, and especially marketing and sales. Because if sales doesn't feel comfortable to sell what you developed alongside with product development, and if you don't train them on the added value, they can never sell it. So that means you created something at the end of the day that nobody understands because it's not visible. To let it become visible, you need to do it with the whole team.
So we were talking about this earlier, and so why don't some brands do this, in your opinion?
That's a very good question. I mean, sometimes it's just because I think that maybe product development and the marketing team and sales team are not as connected as you think they are. Sometimes I think just the information gets lost in between. So I think our task definitely is to make sure that it ends up where it should be and the information is where it should be and that is also a very important thing, packaged in the right way.
But it sounds to me like that there's value that's being created by these ingredient brands that's not being communicated effectively to the consumer.
Absolutely, that can happen.
But that can also be a choice because certain brands don't want to make it seem like they did that. Is that possible too? I don't want to be controversial.
I mean, I
You
fully
don't know.
understand where you're coming
You
from.
don't know.
I
Yeah,
mean,
no, that was sort of that was a tough question. I apologize.
I mean, do you want to give it a try?
Yeah, I can try to give it a shot and maybe be politically correct to your question. It takes time, and sometimes time and the pressure to bring results for a company are not aligned. When we introduce a new technology, sometimes it takes 1, 2, 3, 10 years before consumers really get to it. I'm thinking about Alpha, for example. Frankly, Polartec Alpha is becoming a big success, and I realized the other day that in fact this technology, we launched it in 2011. Well, I guess that's what it is when you're an outdoor veteran. It's just crazy, and some people are discovering it today, but I'm like, okay, come on, guys. So no, but seriously, and in that time frame, there are some brands that have launched it, and after 1 or 2 years, was not successful. The retail network was not picking on it, and they dropped it, and then came back to it 5 years later, right? So it's also a matter of getting something new adopted by consumers overall, not only by brands.
Try. Well, hi. When it comes to start a co-development activity or identify a partner, I think one other aspect is to have clear objective set, especially if it's a joint project. So identify objectives and deliverables which are clear and achievable in a specific time set. So I think this is key when starting a project or a co-development. Otherwise, the risk is to put a lot of effort, resources, and then don't get to where any one of the parties want to be. As they're saying very often, is also a medium or long-term journey, and so it needs commitment. And the other real barrier and but also key success factor, as Graham was saying, is trust. To be able to have common objectives and be able to drive this cycle, this iterative process, which is problem solving, prototyping, testing, back to problem solving, prototyping and testing, etc. You need to have a very open and very open communication and without fearing that any secrets
Trade secrets.
Yes, to be disclosed. I mean, clearly, it has to be trustable partners.
So in essence, what it feels like to me is the ingredient brands are sort of this research arm that the brands can delegate in a certain sense by choosing these partners where they would like to have, because obviously brands can't have the personnel to go and do the material testing that someone like Polartec is doing, or the chamois development. that Elastic Interface is doing, or the odor control. Like I slid all those in there. No, so let's get into, so for clothing brands, how much does the choice of an ingredient brand influence on this note, your position as a product at retail and how to communicate it to the customer? How do you guys look at this?
Yeah. Thank you, Wyatt. Like it's, we focus on just building key core strategic relationships, exactly, so we can go really deep on them. So it's very straightforward. We share knowledge, we share resources, we work on campaigns together. We are inspiring and informing in some cases what we think will resonate with our community and customers. And in other cases, they might be leading with a fiber innovation, an environmental consideration or something like that. So it's very like two-way flow that will then inform like the activation and the presentation, doing multiple channel like strategic launches as well, so that we're speaking to lots of different audiences and crowds, and trying to get the cut through really with what we think will be the real value to community and the activity and the athletes in the environment that they're using it in.
But obviously there's an above the fold type perception of these ingredient brands that I suppose that your sales team and your brand managers are sort of also hoping, and so you're also depending on a strong visibility that's inherent to the ingredient brand, right? Is that something that you guys definitely take into consideration?
Yeah, absolutely, and I guess because we are in very close contact with customers and athletes using the brands as well, we're daily kind of getting this feedback, whether that's through wholesale accounts or events and things like that online. So we are tuning and dialing what we think will be the resonant messages. And I think increasingly, sustainability, for want of a better word, but environmental considerations for us are really important as well. I think that especially with incoming changes in legislation and things like that now, we are seeing a big shift to customers connecting with those themes.
Sure. Yeah, maybe just adding to what Graham said, I think it becomes in the consumer's eyes a guarantee of quality and a guarantee of functionality. You want to obviously leverage that as much as possible, and when you work with a partner that has everything lined up behind what that actual component or fabric is, there's certainly a level of trust there that maybe would be viewed very positively in the general consumer's eyes, and that definitely, to kind of lead to your question, would hopefully lead to increased sales of that product simply based on that.
So switching gears to the kind of the perception that the customers have of these products. So like Elastic Interface has built a strong recognition among serious cyclists as a mark of chamois quality. Polartec carries similar weight in technical fabrics, and Eva has a mandate to specifically build this awareness for Polygiene to the consumer, right? So I guess how did you guys build this trust? How did the companies build this trust? And how are you planning on protecting it over time as you move forward?
Sure. Easy one.
Easy one. Well, as Eric said earlier, first of all, it takes time. It takes time, dedication. It takes investments because you anyway have to deliver quality and innovation. So it takes investments in time. It takes investments in resources. It takes investments in organization. For us, for instance. Research and development is not only the 2 or 3, 4, 5 or whatever people we have internally, but it's collaborating with customers, collaborating with universities where most of our innovations are born, research centers, racers, etc. So it's really an organization that needs to work. Yes, it's a mechanism that requires a lot of pieces, but most of all also a culture of innovation, which is really embedded in some of the companies, and where everybody in the company understands that we're here not only to sell and deliver, which is clearly important, but also to improve every day the product to our customers. And sometimes the idea also comes from unexpected people or circumstances, and everything is good. I think being at Elastic Interface, I was very lucky because this is really the core culture of Elastic Interface. It's been like that since the beginning. And so to answer your question, it took the right mindset to break the rules and innovate, and then it took dedication year over year. Focus, and that is still our top priority today, R&D and product development.
Eric?
Well, same answer to start with, and our head of innovation is watching us, so I'm going to try to be careful with what I'm saying, but that's of course key, and that's focus, and that's a consistent, focus on that aspect of things. We created Fleece, Polartec, like 40 years ago, and without continuing to invent and create new platforms, new knitting structures, etc., we would not be here, right? If we had stuck to one product that was created back in the 70s. And then, yes, it's blood, toil, tears, and sweat, right? I mean, it's educating retailers, it's speaking to our industry, it's collaborating with our customers. I mean, it's all the work, it's everyday work. Right?
Live panels.
Yes.
So I would maybe like to sum it up in one word. It's really listen. Listen to the industry and be where the industry is and understand the challenges that they are facing. And then, I mean, we are all specialists in different segments and in different ingredient types of. So really listen carefully and then position yourself as a specialist and contribute with added value. So solve problems that the industry currently is facing and that maybe others can't solve.
So maybe going back to the product development and the brand side, the alignment between the apparel brand and the ingredient brand, what does that look like on the product roadmap level? And how do you guys get there kind of practically?
But I think it can take maybe one of two forms. You can quite literally, as would have happened in the past, have a concept from a product design developer's point of view that you aren't really certain how you can realize, but you need to then reach out for those expertise in order to try and find a solution to that. So it could start from there. Or obviously with cycling apparel, it becomes, categorized from fabric's point of view in some very distinct channels, categories where there is a product that exists, but it's not quite good enough. How can you improve on this? And really, like we said, well, everyone said, it's this process of maybe kind of trying to think outside of the box, trying to create something that will be obviously at the very end sellable. But that whole process involved is a back and forth, and really the relationship with the partner really comes down to, there's a level of trust there that you are, at the end going to create something that's going to potentially help both brands as well, be sellable. And, the basis there, it could be, in many different ways, taking many different shapes, but it's fundamentally, it's that trust, Wet.
Graham?
What Fergus said. Completely agree with that. And we do try and allow ourselves a little bit of space for some kind of experimental concept work as well, that we can provoke the space between the two brands and have some exploratory things. So we've had a fun project that explored some zero waste manufacture as a kind of demonstration micro factory production in the studio in London, with our waterproof breathable textile partner Pertex, that created this space that neither of us would have been able to do, and demonstrate a new material that they wanted to show off. So I think it's a kind of a balance between all of these areas.
And so I guess what role does consumer education play here? And this is for anybody. Who's carrying the responsibility of explaining these characteristics to the customer? Is it the apparel brand? Is it something you guys do together? How does that work? I guess in a successful area, how would that look?
I'll start. Well, first of all, I think consumer education is very, very important, and it's also very difficult to achieve. It's a joint responsibility. I mean, clearly the brand is closer to the end consumer. We're a little bit farther back, but anyway, it's a joint responsibility. I have a feeling that very often consumer don't get the information maybe they would like to have. I mean, sometimes even myself, I do some mystery shopping. Like I enter a shop and I try to buy some products and I see how they propose it to me, what they say, and very often I don't get any meaningful information that maybe I would like to get. So I think there's an opportunity there. There's this is also a market that I think is very much receptible to education and new technology and developments. And so I think it's an opportunity. It's a difficult task. It's a long channel. There's a lot of noise, but it's anyway something we need to work more and better.
Focus.
Do you want to drop first?
Equal first.
So, I mean, for us, it's definitely something that we do together with the brands because the added value always has to fit into the tone of voice of the brand. I mean, if it doesn't fit to the tone of voice of the brand and the brand identity, you will never end up in a successful campaign. So togetherness is one thing. We do everything together and aligned with the brand, and then keep it simple. So a very short message. The simpler, the better you make sure that it ends up where it should end up and that the consumer really understands the message. That would be what we are definitely focusing on.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit specific to Polartec because we are a company that offers a lot of services, on top of building products. So when one of our customers buys from us, they know that they're going to get that support in terms of collateral, in terms of training. We're able to go and train retail. We have web tools because today retail is not only physical retail. We do a lot of stuff on our own. We invest a lot.
You specifically created resources for retailers and brands to educate.
Correct. We also.
What does that look like exactly?
Well, it's web platforms. It's actually real people going and visit stores, trying to educate people that are going to be at the last point of decision. I think things happen at a retail level.
You'll choose key accounts to do trainings. I think Elastic Interface is doing that as well.
And also, yes, we're doing that as well. But also now we're trying to also train retailers, for instance, which are not our real customers, but at the end they are the final point of contact with consumers. So, and we're seeing that there are also interest from retailers to get this type of training and information. So, yeah.
Creating that pull from the consumer, I think, is critical and not something probably that has direct impact on the bottom line, right? But I think it sounds like it's. Go ahead, Eric. You want to say something?
Yeah, right. Well, negative impact on the bottom line. But I'm a firm believer that's part of what we have to do. Creating new products with brands or on our own means that we need to explain them at the very least. And then part of the package that we offer, we have a big public relation network that also is here to educate people, educate media, etc., etc. So there's a lot of that, plus the cooperation with brands that my colleagues already mentioned, right? I mean, that's, of course, I'm a big believer of joint marketing is really the way that we can do 1 + 1 = 3. I mean, we are much stronger together. Our customers have a much bigger reach to end users, as Gianluca was mentioning, and putting joint marketing dollars or euros at a retail level has a direct effect that you can measure and that can show positive. So that's
this is off off the topic, but I want to ask you: can you explain from this regard the maturity, since you work in outdoor and cycling, the maturity of the usage and the communication of ingredient brands, outdoor versus cycling? How do you see that?
Yeah, that's a conversation we had this morning, and that's something that, well, not being dismissive of one major ingredient brand that's been present in cycling since many years, decades. Apart from that, I would say that maybe
Gore-Tex.
Yeah, maybe there's a little bit of stronger history in the outdoor around creating this value of ingredient brands and this partnership, and also the understanding of technical fabrics
And the value and
their
of it.
value.
Okay, and so
Yes.
maybe in cycling, what you're saying is that it's still underdeveloped. The awareness and maybe the general paradigm towards the use of ingredient brands is a little less developed.
Maybe a little less. I mean, there's always more that you can do. But I would say that for us at least, we really saw a big jump in the middle of the 2010s. That's when we started to see a much stronger interest from the cycling space in general for ingredient and truly technical fabrics that did exist in the outdoor for some of them.
Graham, did you want to?
I just add to that as well that you're always going to have a percentage of consumers that would just not be interested in a fiber story or the ingredient brand or whatever. But we find that really what cuts through is just the authenticity around the use of the product. So having it shown in use in the correct environment by people doing amazing things, athletes, everyday people or whatever, and just being completely authentic with the product, because I think it's, if you're not, you're going to get caught out pretty quickly there as well. So beautiful photography, films, things like that really bring that fiber story to life in a much more tangible way than a diagram or a logo, perhaps, certainly for a certain segment of consumers.
Sure.
I would just add to that exactly. I think the perception of again the ingredient brand with the brand is one thing, and how you can leverage that. But fundamentally, I think we all work with these ingredient brands based on the fact that they produce things that do actually work. That's fundamental. That's the starting point right there.
So we're going to dive into the theme of kind of this area here. So we're sitting in the circularity zone for Performance Days, and which feels like the right place to have this to start this part of the conversation is, where do each of your brands stand on the journey towards a more circular, traceable, and sustainable materials, and where do you see the most exciting progress happening right now?
I'll start. I guess an immediate response to that would be a project that we've worked on with Polartec now for almost 2.5 years. A series of jerseys that will be launched, cycling jerseys that will be launched now this spring, that incorporate a form of recycled carbon capture to produce polyester chips to produce the fabric that we use in these products. And that was really a discussion that we had. So we sat down and said, well, what will a cycling jersey be in 10 years' time? If we have to continue to use synthetic fabrics derived from petrochemicals, kind of what's the way around this? And this is a perfect example of working with an ingredient brand that was receptive to this. And through 2 really hard years of trying to get this thing off the ground, we've kind of got there now, so it's, that's a perfect example for me.
Graham, I know this is close to the Albion sort of core.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, how long have we got? We could be here all day. I think there is so much fascinating stuff happening with opportunity for design for end of first life, design for repairability, imparting a way more value in products so that they are actually used responsibly for the duration of their life, and exactly like the quality that you get from your partner brands as well just embeds a lot more value and long-term use and love into those products. But there are some fascinating technologies coming down now of much lower impact, transitioning to circularity. As I mentioned earlier, the incoming legislation now as well means that everyone's got to be a lot more sewn up in terms of traceability, accountability for end of life. So we're going to see some really interesting changes, I think, over the next 5-10 years into this space, and it's brilliant to see those innovations starting to happen as well, coming to market as you've just outlined, Fergus. So well done, yeah, and Polartec too.
Yeah, I agree with all of them. Also for us, for Elastic Interface, the sustainability has been a priority for many years, and we always work with customers and suppliers. Recycled fabrics, bio-based foams, zero waste solutions, and even in this event, we introduced a new pad technology, which is completely foamless without glue. And so not only it improves performance in terms of breathability, but it also sustainable. And in theory, you can recycle it at the end of the life. So again, a lot of research because the market requests this, and this is also something that we like to drive as much as possible.
I go first, you said. So ladies first. I mean, we are an auto control technology, so we are adding freshness to a product. And I think we are adding a very simple thing, but simple is sometimes as good. So we all know that the longer a product lasts, the longer the life of a product is, the better for its ecological footprint. So what we do with our auto control technology is that and that we also claim that our claim is wear more, wash less, consumer facing, that you can wear a product longer without washing. And that has a big impact already on the ecological footprint of a garment because, I mean, I don't have to tell you, most of the fabric abrasion comes from washing. And if you just skip every other wash, a product definitely lasts longer. And then at the same time, when you wash less, you save water, energy, and of course the end consumer's time. And this is obviously something also that they find very valuable. So I think with very simple tweaks and the right communication towards the end consumer, you can already achieve a lot.
Yeah, so fully agree with that. Durability first, of course, and with what we heard before. And just to give one example, because, yeah, same as Graham, I don't know how many hours we have to discuss around this and what we are trying to do to make things better. Because we are in the circularity area, we came up with solutions to prepare that circularity. And we did focus on the most complicated apparel piece, which is the weather protection part that has different components in it. So it's really hard to consider how you could make this circular. And we've been able to come up with mono-material weather protection solutions that are potentially recyclable. And we tested them and we obtained a pretty important yield, actually pretty good. So I think that's one direction that you were asking about, what would be next direction. That's something that, of course, the whole industry is focused on and we got some interesting solutions for.
So I guess one of the topics that came up early in the conversation was just kind of how it seems to me that brands are kind of leaving this opportunity untapped to work with ingredient brands and to kind of put more focus on the value that ingredient brands create, right? And so I guess from that lens, on top of that, on the back of that, what do you guys think is the most exciting kind of untapped opportunity you see around this topic of ingredient branding today?
Well, I suppose, again, it's kind of, I would just return to the point that a successful collaboration with an ingredient brand relates specifically to the functionality of the product you take from them. You know, one thing is just for pure marketing purposes, collaborating with the brand and not really creating anything that's of any use to anybody, but you're trying to leverage that. That's fine. But certainly it's incredibly important that the project, whatever that is that you would work on, leads to something potentially that is innovative and that inherently has value that starts there.
That you couldn't do on your own.
And essentially, that's correct, yeah. But it's not just a question of we're going to start collaborating with ingredient brands just because, well, you're going to draw people's attention without really having the you know, kind of the sincerity of a product that exists there. And that's primarily the first phase that you go through. What can we actually do that's going to add value and be innovative?
And so from that lens, I suppose those are the conversations that you guys are specifically having today and yesterday.
Exactly right. You know, kind of, we've discussed this and said this year at the, it's in performance days here, we've met different people and we're seeing things that are really, really interesting. There's been a kind of a step change there where things are coming into the market now where we're saying, well, listen, this is really cool. Things are moving on again. And you obviously want to be there right at the coalface working with those ingredient brands to try and be, as close to that technology in this case as possible.
So kind of talking about the competitive advantage of an ingredient brand, I think you kind of summed it up right there, was like the brands need to be going to market or obviously to take advantage of this opportunity. It starts with a collaboration and understanding with the work that the ingredient brands are doing and how can you bring that to market first and in the most clear and effective way.
Yeah, that plays a part with everything, to maintain that relationship, even just on a human level, to be able to meet the people, actually like working with them is important as well. It's not just a transaction, kind of, you have to be there too. And that plays a big part in everything because quite often these projects aren't really that well defined. There's not really a straight roadmap, so you have to figure problems out as they arise. And in this case, luckily, from a Santini point of view, we work with different people and different ingredient brands that facilitate that,
Very much that.
Yeah, just a very small observation there as well. Exactly, I think getting that in your pyramids, sort of getting that core stuff really right and pinned down and dialed, and then having that like kind of pinnacle space where maybe there's some more intangible things are happening which are nourishing you creatively, like in terms of innovation space, maybe nourishing the community as well with kind of slightly more abstract stuff like, putting a film out or something like that.
Well, it's hard enough to find content, right? I mean, in a sense that like everybody's kind of doing the same thing. They're doing the same video up the climb. So it feels to me like a huge opportunity. And I know that with Polartec, some of the activations that they've done in the past, have been really powerful for brands. So it feels to me like an untapped opportunity that brands kind of can leverage more to kind of bring to raise awareness and also just have something. I don't want to reduce it to just have something to talk about, but when it comes to branding, when it comes to awareness, like you do have to have novelty to keep, to kind of keep people's attention.
100%, yeah, 100%, yeah, and I think that keeps everyone fresh as well. Like you are like generating new ideas, exploring new spaces as well. Like that's required to keep moving. Yeah.
So I guess I'm going to do one more question, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, you're going to be able to ask them. So if final question, what would one brand founder or product director in the audience or at the show today to kind of take away from this conversation?
I would say use the knowledge of the ingredient brands and let's work even closer together as ingredient brands, as brands out there, so that we all together can accelerate innovation.
Yeah, we do fabrics and we want you to have fun with them, right? I mean, Fergus was talking about cooperation and enjoying working together. The product you described earlier, the carbon capture product, that started with a dinner in Bergamo, right? And wine. Wine is always involved. Okay, so I think I lost track of what I was going to say now.
What do you want people to take away from the conversation?
Polartec is very well known as a cold weather player. We don't only do that. We do a lot of other things that are pretty relevant to cycling, specifically for different weather patterns, and those weather patterns are changing a lot. It's absolutely crazy to live this today. We were hoping or thinking that this would be much later, but this is now, right? It's going to be 40 degrees Celsius in LA next weekend, right? And we have lots of versatile solutions for textile. We have lots of stuff that we can offer and create together. So because things are changing, and come see us for change in textile as well.
I agree. First of all, is knowledge, of course. So don't be, use our knowledge, because everybody's focused and knows better what is good at. Second thing that I would like to say is that this co-development work. I understand it's an investment in the short term, but if you look at our projects, most of our projects were very successful also commercially. So it's not only about having to do something new, but it's actually making something that works for the consumer, and also at the end of the day for the financial of the company. So co-development do work. And third thing, which we already touched, don't forget communication. Again, education. It's not enough sometimes to have a very cool idea or product, that you need to deliver it and communicate it properly.
So I think I wanted to say something today. I think we have this was an amazing group of panelists here, just because I think they're at the very core of what's happening in apparel with regards to creation and then the ingredients. So I really appreciate everybody that came out today. This was really fun, and I think we really were able to. That was my goal today, was to kind of dive into this topic and bring this kind of to light. And this will also be available on the podcast, on the Business of Cycling podcast. So I guess now I want to open it up for questions. So any questions from the audience?
Thank you. You had that sorted. Wonderful. But a slightly tangential question. Can you have too many ingredient brands?
Probably more for the apparel brands, this question.
Well, yeah. How many is too many? That's a really good question, because one example we have, we co-brand with a fiber Net Plus that's then used by Pertex. So we do go to market with these two very strong stories, and they work harmoniously and they resonate. I suppose maybe because one's from an environmental perspective and one is more on a performance perspective. I'm not sure, if we could load in YKK, maybe a fabric treatment as well might get a little bit overwhelming, the stack of brands there, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's the limit. Yeah.
Well, I would say it's it probably comes down to the bandwidth that you have to be able to communicate it, right?
Well, I certainly think, obviously, you can have too many. You have to balance it. You have to be smart. And you certainly two products that would be competitors, and you try and put them into the same line of clothing. Obviously, it's probably going to be a mistake. So that's super important as well. It is a fine balance, but definitely it's something that you don't necessarily want to. Well, from a very, you could say, egocentric point of view, if something arrives from a potential competitor brand, you obviously want to pay attention to it. You want to be there, open to working with anybody, but obviously you don't want to, cut your nose off to spite your face just because you're working with another brand, a competitor. Yeah.
So I want to thank the guests from Polartec, Elastic Interface, Polygiene, Albion, and Santini for this candid and wide-ranging discussion. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe to the Business of Cycling podcast, as well as our newsletter, wherever you listen, or over at the website, velomedia.io. Thanks, everybody.